In this clip, I'm going to be sharing another really good historical PDF download that I was excited to have found on a informational website in regards to different cultures and groups and their history across the African continent. Specifically, this one is about the Somali Bantu history and culture by Dan Van Layman and Omar Eno. And I felt like this was a really deep historical share here, considering the climate of the kind of hatred that is going on towards the Somali community. I definitely wanted to share here some really good history, just understanding the people, the country, and their belief systems, so on and so forth. So this is what the download looks like. It's going to have 40 pages. And I'm just going to scroll through here and share some of these informationals and infographics. This one here shares what countries are surrounding Somalia and a lot of those influences there. So you'll see Djibouti, you'll see Ethiopia, Kenya, and parts of Tanzania right across here, which is really nice to understand. Um, the diverse culture when it comes to Somalians and how beautiful their people are. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here. It's going to give you the preface here. So I'm going to read the first sentence right up here. It just states, this booklet is a basic introduction to the people, history, and cultures of the Somali Bantu. It is designed primarily for service providers and others assisting Somali Bantu refugees in their new communities in the United States. So this basically came from an online data platform where it was providing information for refugees from various countries that were given sanctuary in specific states within the United States. So this is definitely an informational that was used for refugees, and I find it very disheartening that so many of these people who were granted this opportunity to be here and away from war and turmoil within their own countries have sadly been removed from the United States. However, this was an informational for refugees, particularly. So it gives you here the table of contents. It'll talk about their land, it'll talk about their place in society, social structures. It'll also talk about the social impact of slavery, the 20th century, their religious lives, language and literacy, the resettlement challenges, how challenging it is for them. And then it'll give you some contrast between the relations of the Bantu and then other groups within the Somali communities. So I'm just going to read the introduction here, just this first sentence, just to kind of give some kind of view into what you can expect from here. I'm going to read this kind of quotation here as well. So it says, as persecuted minority group in Somalia, the Bantu refugees had endured continual marginalization in Somalia since their arrival as slaves in the 19th century. In Africa, the Bantu-speaking peoples make up a major part of the population of nearly all African countries south of the Sahara. They belong to over 300 groups, each with its own language or dialect. Groups vary in size from a few hundred to several million. Among the best known are the Kikuyu, the largest group in Kenya, the Swahili, whose language is spoken throughout Eastern Africa, and the Zulu of South Africa. So it just gives you a look into how diverse the communities across Somalia are. I don't believe many people understand how intermixed the cultures are, from the Swahili people, Kenyans and Tanzanians. So there's a lot of connection between these groups of people. So it'll just talk about minority groups, how different the Bantu are, lots of good information. Then it will talk about their land, how large it is, how much of the land is cultivated, and the parts that are inhabited based on geographical subsets within different areas that many people may know, do have a lot of Islamic influence. So, how different these, areas are for different groups. And we'll talk here about the people. And I definitely want to go ahead and read this first part here because this is very diverse with the people who come from this region. So it states here many Bantu refugees can trace their origins back to ancestors in Southeast African tribes who were enslaved in the 18th century by agents of the Sultanate of Zanzibar. These ancestral tribes include, among others, the Makua and Yao of southern Tanzania and northern Mozambique, the Ngindo of southern Tanzania, the Nyasa of southern Tanzania, northern Mozambique and northern Malawi, and the Zaramo and Zigwa of northeast Tanzania. Other Southeast African tribes represented among the Bantu refugees include the Digo, Makale, Manyawa, Nyamwezi, and Naika. So it just gives you a look into the different tribes, the different people. It is very diverse and very culture filled. Something that I have learned in, my African studies. As you can see here, I've had a lot of different playlists that have shared a lot of different cultures, food. I definitely delved into Somalian cuisine, finding local communities that, supported Somalian cuisine specifically. Very much has disappeared from, my locality as well, which is very sad to kind of see this going on in the world with a group, of people who have been so badly displaced their entire lives. So it'll talk about their place in society. I'm going to read here this first sentence just to give some contrast into, the numbers of, Somalians within certain areas. Although there are today no reliable statistical sources, the Somali population is estimated at about 7.5 million people. Of that figure, the entire Bantu population in southern Somalia is estimated at about 600 million, and those with strong East African identification estimated as a fraction of that number. The Bantu people are ethnically and culturally distinct from the Somali nomads and the coastal people who generally disdain agriculture and value a tribal lineage system that does not include the Bantu. So it just talks about a lot of their differences. In this second sentence here, you'll see a lot about Sunni Islam as their religion for a lot of people within the country. Lots of really good information. I definitely will be printing this one as well and adding it to my African studies because Somalia is definitely somewhere that I have grown to love and learn about how beautiful the people are and how diverse their belief systems are and cultures. Lots of different things that come from this country are very beautiful. It will talk about slavery,